Welcome to the Motoring Podcast, your weekly discussion of motoring news. This is episode 569 on Tuesday, the 12th of March, 2024. Hello, I'm Alan.
Hello, I'm Andrew. And this week we'll be talking about people getting cross about something that was never going to happen. In new car news, there's at least one happy Jag story. And in points of interest, we share something to keep your car running. But first, we have two bits of follow-up, and I will start with the first one, which is the headline from the Reuters article states, EU set to allow possible retroactive tariffs for Chinese EVs. We talked about this the back end of last year, I think it was. Was it the back end of last year?
We've talked about it quite a lot, I think.
Yeah.
The kicker here is that they're now becoming retroactive. And now nothing says protectionism like a retroactive tariff.
Well, they're in a real dicey situation because if we remember, this has been brought about because there is this fear that the Chinese EVs are flooding the market. Lots of finger quotes going on, etc. when people say these things. Flooding the market, and they are beating the homegrown models on price, sometimes on quality, but on price, and it's doing harm to the industry of Europe, which the politicians have finally noticed that their decision to go all in on EVs effectively
is driving this.
Has opened this door, and then they've gone, oh, hang on.
No, the wrong people are selling EVs. The wrong people are selling EVs.
Well, they're going, if people buy those EVs, then the people who vote for us will be out of a job, and they may ask us some really rather hard questions. Let's do something. And off they rush and put together a commission and investigate. And already what they have found is that there is, according to this Reuters article, sufficient evidence tending to show that EVs and batteries are being subsidized. And in the time since they started launched this investigation in October, the imports have increased 14%.
But you get rid of all the small cars, you legislate all the little cars out of production, and then people still need little cars, and the only people selling the little cars are the Chinese people.
It's almost as though no one is thinking it through, Alan.
Who'd have thought about that?
I know.
Goodness, what a surprise.
But what the real trick here is, okay, as you said, retroactive, not a word you want to hear put in.
No.
But it's how Beijing react to this, which they will do, because they've already warned, and they have put a tariff on the export of a couple of minerals that are useful in batteries and in cars.
Yes.
Just as a little flex to remind everyone. And all the people who went, oh, look how cheap batteries are for cars. This means cars should only cost 20-something thousand in Europe. This is brilliant news for buyers. Haven't thought through, that is great. But when China go, sorry, we will not allow you to have these batteries because you've penalized our car manufacturers, it's not going to look great then, is it?
No. Oh, they will let you have the batteries, but it just happens that there is an export tariff on them.
Yeah, they've encouraged this lower price where everybody goes, oh, great, cars will be cheaper. And what they'll do, they'll slap a tariff or stop it from being exported at all, and then the car industry is really sunk, and China still sweeps through.
Yeah.
But to be fair, it really is a delicate balance they now have to make between appearing to do something, doing something for the European market, and not causing a massive trade war.
Yes, exactly. Next up, good news.
We like that.
We do like that. Well, it's VOLTA trucks. We talked about them the other week. VOLTA had been doing okay, developing away, and then the battery manufacturer, battery supplier that they used, Proterra, had to file for insolvency. That meant there was a knock-on effect, and because Proterra batteries were the only ones that would fit in VOLTA trucks, they were a little bit on the stuffed side.
Yes.
As a result, they also had to file for insolvency. However, it looks like contract manufacturer Steer has announced that it's signed an initial agreement to continue production of VOLTA trucks. They've even founded a new subsidiary, Steer Automotive E-Truck GmbH, and it's going to take over that production. The Electrive article here doesn't give any indication of where the trucks are going to be produced. So that's good news, that even if that's something still surviving and still developing, and we'll see if they do spin that off into its own company.
Yeah, according to a Reuters article that's mentioned in this ElecTrive article, VOLTA did have orders for more than 5,000 EV van/lorries prior to going into insolvency. It's got customers. It had a product. It's just so unfortunate that it was tied into that one battery manufacturer who did it in a particular way.
That's the thing. I mean, they do have real ones driving on the roads and out, and they did have ones out being loaned and being used and trialed properly in the environment. It was more than just renderings.
Yeah,
it's overall good news, though.
Yes, it's very positive about it, and that's good to see. So we will keep an eye on that because they've got to sort out the battery issue, or confirm the battery, how they're going to fix that.
Proterra have been they've been bought and they're back. They're producing again. Part of that seems to have disappeared. That's part of the challenge, is that Proterra has actually been bought up.
Yeah, again, they have a customer, so that makes them more viable as a thing.
Well, that's it, and this is a knock-on effect.
Okay, I'm going to take us into new news, and we'll start with last week's budget. And an awful lot of the motoring industry in the UK got very cross when Jeremy Hunt didn't actually incentivize private buyers more to go and buy an EV. He didn't do anything to equalize the VAT on public and private charging, and didn't do anything else apart from hold the fuel duty, which is what he'd done, what they've done for 8 years.
It's what everybody's done since time immemorial. It's something like that. It's
ridiculous amount of time where you feel like you might as well just remove that now because it's not a thing until it gets put in again, which some government will do in the future at some point.
I mean, I don't really know what to say about this.
Well, apart from I was right. Yeah.
Apart from you were right, yes. I was about to say that I was wrong, actually.
I have to write these in a diary because it doesn't happen often, everyone.
I was about to say that pretty much immediately by the time the show was out, when I'd said, well, you never know, they might do it thanks to the magic money tree. It turns out that this seems to have been the one thing that wasn't on the magic money tree.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was wrong and you were right.
Thank you.
There we go.
I've got that now forever. Which I'll just play to myself in dark moments.
He's going to set that the ringtone on his phone for me whenever I call him.
But it does not detract from the fact that there still is the problem that private buyers, and this is for the whole market, it's not just EVs, but that the whole market, private buyers are keeping their hands in their pockets, or have been doing for the last few months. March might be different, but that might be the outlier.
And it's worth saying that doesn't matter if it's petrol or internal combustion engine, or if it's EV. Private buyers are not feeling in a position to go out and make big purchases.
No, exactly.
That's simple.
Yeah. We'll see if anything changes when the next government is voted in, whenever that happens. There will be a link to a couple of stories that go further into details and taking quotes from various organizations and companies associated with the motor trade. So you can read through those at your leisure.
Story from The Verge, one to make Andrew happy. And in one hand it does, and in the other hand it definitely doesn't, because he's already had to get all of the naughty words out of his system before we started recording. But story from The Verge, linked in the show notes, which is talking about Euro NCAP, is set to introduce new rules in January 2026 that requires the vehicles it assesses to have physical controls to receive a full 5-star safety rating. Yes, the safety regulators are finally realizing that buttons are safer than touchscreens.
That's interesting. They're now experts in human interface and human technology interactions, all of a sudden.
Yes. Well, that's the way it goes, isn't it?
However, putting aside my still anger at Thatcham and Euro NCAP for how they've decided to handle some news, this is actually important, and this is good news to hear that they are pushing to get things like wipers, the hazard warnings, heating controls, and stuff like that back indicators, yes, back into as physical interactive buttons, switches, knobs, dials. That is a good thing. Don't let my personal opinion at the moment detract from that. I think that overall this is a good move, and I welcome it. I just wish there was other things that they were as proactive about. But I have seen a few comments about this, and I wonder And one of them was really important. And it makes me wonder, because this is what was said, how long before car manufacturers start to ignore the Euro NCAP or don't hold the same importance with it? Because Dacia already does, to a degree, where they don't fit what they feel is unnecessary technology driver systems. But you can imagine a certain US EV maker going, no, we know better. We'll ignore you.
I thought they already did, to be perfectly honest.
Well,
and that's not a joke. That's not. Again, I just thought it was It was obviously something completely irrelevant.
No, but they happily boast when they get 5-star.
Yes, but I think if they didn't, they just wouldn't mention it.
Well, that's what I mean. That's what I mean. Where car manufacturers will now not hold this. The 5-star is not, the Euro NCAP 5-star is not a legal requirement.
No, and the thing is, it is now. At the time, it was a pretty much set thing, so you could compare vehicles across time. Now it seems to change every 6 months. It is a constantly evolving.
Yeah, there's no comparison between last year's 5-star and this year's because they've changed.
That makes the assessments not completely null and void, but it definitely makes them less serious.
Yes.
And I think that it's a little bit like, I was going to say the AA. It's a little bit like, it's like the AA chasing and jumping on every freaking bandwagon. I mean, they're not good at coming out and collecting you if there's an issue with you at the side of the road, apocryphally, according to stories and usage. Thankfully, I haven't had to try it. But they're blooming good at jumping on every political bandwagon passing. And I feel that NCAPs, the Euro NCAP stuff is a bit like that. It is this changing thing reacting to politics rather than actually being able to say, well, look, this is a standard.
Yeah.
And saying, right, every 5 years we're going to evolve and you'll still be able to compare to the old standard, but this is the new standard with the new stuff, rather than an ad hoc evolution of, in January we're just going to do something to do with buttons.
These new rules don't come in until January 2026. I reiterate what I have said on social media when trying to discuss this with organizations involved in these things. Please start speaking to motoring journalists, speak to organizations that are not necessarily 100% cheerleading what you do, and get a proper understanding of what it's like on public roads. You have to get that. Otherwise you get stick for it all when it goes wrong or it doesn't work or it doesn't make the difference you're claiming.
One of the reasons that I think we've included this article, by the way, from The Verge, rather than some of the other articles, is that this is an article about it written by a tech journalist. And that's intentional because it's to try to show that it's not just motoring journalists who are having a go about this. Even the tech journalists are starting to notice.
Yeah.
First is to go, screens, woo, cool stuff, woo, and completely ignoring things like ownership experience and all that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Thankfully, they don't mention some hard plastics. But you know what I mean? It's even the tech people are going, no, this is a bit much.
Yeah. And I reiterate what I have said many times is if any of these organizations or people from these organizations want to discuss this with me, whilst I do go on about it a lot because I feel it's really, really important and I feel we are hedging people into dangerous situations with the technology, the way it's been implemented and developed and put on public roads is not right. Let's talk about it. Let's try and get it fixed because what I find so frustrating, and it could be great. It could help save lives. It could assist drivers in emergency moments, but at the moment it doesn't. So seek people who can help you. Don't just sit there being defensive. Seek people who can help you, please.
Agreed.
Okay, at the beginning of every month, we decide that we will talk about the new car registrations. And it feels like the second week of every month, we must talk about how the fuel prices have gone up again. or the money is not being passed on to us
You're
drivers.
the one that always puts this in here. I've never requested we include this information.
I've just started doing this now because I'm fascinated that it comes around every month like this. But once again, news in Autocar about how we are being ripped off at the pump. Some of the price rises are due to legitimate reasons. Others are down to the retailers trying to make more and more profit, including in this article where it talks about some of the more well-known retailers discussing how they want to increase their return or profit.
Yes, it is a terrible euphemism.
Yes. But it's just not good. And again, like high electricity prices, if you happen to drive an EV, particularly on a public charger, or if you are driving an ICE like most of us do in this country, the UK, now we're being screwed because we're trying to do something we have to do. But there we go.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, was I meant to say something? So, do you know what I was doing? I was distracted there and not really paying attention to
Don't
what
tell
Andrew
me
was
you
saying.
were looking at your prices, please.
I was looking at the prices for US, and there has been an uptick in January. It's gone from $95.7 per US gallon in January to $3.10.2 per US gallon for regular unleaded gasoline here in the US.
Alan, can you hear that? Can you hear that's the world's smallest violin playing just for you?
I actually find the low cost of fuel here quite appalling, really, in a civilized country. It is actually, it's low enough that it actually annoys me, but there we go.
Whilst he fills up.
In the same breath, I'm going to continue to fill up my V8 with the thing. So the hypocrisy in that is absolutely massive, and I'm really sorry.
Good work. Okay, right. Now you've finished gloating. Can you take us to Japan?
Yeah. Oh, sorry, yes. Japan's antitrust watchdog has warned Nissan about its $20 million underpayments to subcontractors. Even the Japanese antitrust watchdog, which I don't imagine has wonderfully sharp teeth, is saying that this is considered an abuse of small businesses. This actually goes back decades. And the warning was made to Nissan, as I've said, for illegally reducing payments to 36 of its subcontractors. That's added up to, say, the $20 million or 3 billion yen headline number. But that's only for 2 years' worth.
Yeah.
And this has been going back for decades. So that's all they've taken into account. The size of these underpayments, again, this is only taking into account 2 years, is the largest of its kind since this subcontract law took effect in 1956. They're saying that Nissan needs to strengthen its governance. It actually needs to audit for compliance, etc., and also providing training for its executives and purchasing managers.
Very much sounding like it was a rogue engineer excuse coming out there.
No, it wasn't. Not for decades.
No, of course it isn't. Not for that amount of money.
This is
a diktat from on high.
It's just part of the corporate behavior.
Laziness
and all of these things. That's not great from Nissan.
No.
The thing is that we can kind of see similar, whilst they've been illegally underdoing it, we keep on seeing manufacturers saying, yes, well, we're going to be speaking to our subcontractors and our suppliers who are going to have to bear the brunt of this, and we're going to do this. And it's just not on. It's just not responsible. I mean, there was another story the other week about Toyota, and it was having the opposite thing.
Yes.
Where it's saying, actually, we're going to increase what we pay to our subcontractors.
Yeah.
Because otherwise they can't afford to exist.
Yeah. I mean, it's basic business. It's such a lazy, why I call it lazy is because it is such a bad purchasing tactic. Because one, you've created a company that hates you now and will never help you if you're in the mire. Hello, car industry. Do you remember the chip shortage? Do you? Well, it doesn't appear like it.
It's worth mentioning this is not solely down to car companies. You see this time and time again in business.
Oh, yeah.
Where people just try and treat the suppliers like rubbish and get everything their own way. And all that happens is the suppliers go, well, just wait till you're in the stick. Then, goodness me, I'm not sure we're going to be able to help you.
Or even just go, you know what? You're not worth it anymore. We remove ourselves as an option.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And don't forget, Jeep tried this in the US not so long ago, and all the suppliers for Jeep got together and basically stuck their middle finger back up to Jeep and said, there's no chance. And the head of purchasing lost her job.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just stop being lazy. Stop bullying your suppliers. Pay them properly. Do it right. Actually have partnerships rather than just say these words.
Oh, those words. Constant.
Anyway, do you want to take us to another more positive story rather than me just getting cross with car companies at the moment?
What, First Bus?
Yes.
Not often I have to be positive about First Bus. First Bus have adding 57 new electric buses to their fleet in Leeds. They bought the buses from Wrightbus, who are basically the British bus manufacturer these days. And they'll be adding these new buses to its fleet in Leeds later this month. They're adding 32 GB Kite Electroliner solo buses. I did start off by going, why is this a 32 gigabyte bus? Before reading on the rest of realizing that was part of the name. Reading the rest of the sentence. They're also adding 25 Street Deck Electroliner double-deckers as well.
Good news, cleaner buses on the streets of Leeds, which is a very positive thing, is a very good thing.
The cleaner buses are generally good. The trouble is that all the old ones then go on to do the school run with kids in them, which has always bugged me.
Don't worry about that, Alan. Come on.
It's always bugged me that
no one thinks...
I know that they trash anything new, but the fact that they are the oldest, smokiest, nastiest things around, and you think, and at least safe things around, and you think, but surely you want to be protecting their little lungs as they go out and vape at 12 or whatever. But, it just bugs me. Sorry. Down off the high horse.
You're quite right.
The high horse. It's just something about bus companies that just put these great new things in for nearly dead people to ride, and then...
Now you're choosing who's worthy to be safe.
It's the electric trolley problem, isn't it? Yes.
Not talking about running you over. We just want to know who we're going to poison.
With electric buses, do we not poison some old people, or do we poison lots of young people?
Right, I will take us on now from that quickly.
It's not often I say, I hope you cut that bit.
All right, I'm going to move us swiftly on now to the news that CAZOO has decided that it's no longer going to bother selling used cars. It's come to the conclusion that that's rather tricky and out of their league, and instead they wish to be Auto Trader, but called CAZOO.
They wish to be a marketplace. In other words, they don't want to hold any stock.
No.
They don't actually really want to do anything other than have a website. Seems to be the outcome of this.
And take a percentage.
As a result, to take a cut. Of course, the challenge with that is it relies on the dealers and all the other people that they've actively been being very rude about since their inception a number of years ago.
Oh, but that's okay. That was one of the 2 or 3 other CEOs they've had, because they're about to appoint a new one.
One of the last of the 3 CEOs in the last 5 years. Yes. So it definitely wasn't us. Different CAZOO.
Yeah.
Totally different.
We love you, dealers. We love you lots.
But if you want, I think if you are in the marketplace for a registration plate that reads something along the lines of CAZOO, there may well be some hitting the market pretty soon.
Yes, I think you're going to
be able
to
cut price vehicle transporters.
Yes, quite. Unfortunately, this will mean that the sponsorship of virtually every single sporting activity of the UK is now without funding. Again, if you wish to advertise on a sporting thing, I think the market is open to hear from you. It's just... I'm surprised it's lasted as long as it has, to be honest.
It is something of a poop show, isn't it?
Yes. Because if we remember, it was only back in December that they managed to reduce their debt from $630 million to $200 million, whilst appointing another new set of directors. I don't think people have nameplates or anything anymore. They just say the parking for directors and just leave it there. They wouldn't bother saying names, would they? Because they don't know who it's going to be next week.
It's quite bad whenever the sort of director's suite of the offices is basically one of those setups where you come in and pick your own desk for the day, because then it's much, much easier whenever you're out at the end of the week.
Who knew CEO's hot desk?
Exactly. Just what a mess.
Yes. I can't see this working either, because of you've got Auto Trader, which pretty much has the market, doesn't it? Then you've got eBay Motors. You've got things like AA Cars as well.
It's not just that. Well, Auto Trader these days has the market, and it has all the publications as well. Sorry, I'm going to go down that route again. Auto Trader is actually becoming dangerously powerful in the marketplace, and you can choose which marketplace I'm talking about.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's the end of the first part, though.
Oh, that's almost a relief this week. It really is. Anyway, Takes the Guilt Minute. Quick break in the show where we ask for a tad of financial support to keep the lights on, the hosting running. If you feel that Motoring Podcast is worth a small consideration every month, then you can become a patron. Different levels of patron include different levels of commitment from us to you, including being able to watch the show recorded live. We have a small range of merchandise in our spring store, from stickers to mugs and t-shirts. If you don't have any spare cash, and we completely understand, then you can help us by following for free from a podcast player to receive every show as they're released, and by liking and rating the show in whatever way your podcast supplier lets you. If you've done all that, and some of you do, so thank you very much, then the last thing you can do is to recommend us to your friends or colleagues.
Thank you, everyone that does.
Yes.
New car news, and I will start with the Lotus Emeya. Is that how we pronounce it? Emeya?
I believe so.
Emeya. And this is the Saloon Hyper GT EV that's coming from Lotus. Now, it will come in 3 flavours. The standard one will start at £94,950. The Emeya S will cost £107,450. And if you are feeling pretty well off and that these 0 to 62 time of 4.2 seconds isn't enough, you can go for the Emeya R, which is priced from £129,950.
Is that one, because it's so quick, is that one the Emeya?
Well, I think so. 2.8 seconds. I think you'll probably get to 62 before you finish saying the name.
Oh, yeah, mate. But no, I've got to have the new Porsche Panamera instead. You know, that's 0.4 of a second quicker to 60. And this just isn't cutting it for me.
This looks very similar to the Electra, apart from it's in saloon guise. The nose and the front end is the same. It looks like to me that
it's just much lower.
The design language, but just lower. It looks we can't tell from these pictures, but if it's like the Electra, then it'll be quite wide. But I presume that's full.
You were saying you'd seen one on the road, the Electra on the road the other.
Yeah, I've seen one recently even in my grim northern town. It was in the green. I can't remember the name Lotus give their green. And the green looks stunning. I mean, it was a grey drab day, but this green was amazing. But the car is so wide, it barely fit on their side of the road. And I'm not talking like a really narrow road. This is a decent sized B road. And I was amazed at how wide it is.
I don't know. I've not seen either in the flesh yet. I'm sure I'll see an Electra at some point soon. Around here, it's the kind of vehicle you'd expect to see, really. But yeah, the thing is, there are many opinions that can be had, but if these pay for the fun stuff, then I'm all for them. Yeah.
Oh, just some tech details. They're all going to have a 102 kilowatt per hour battery, which will offer a range of up to 379 miles. The R will actually be 301 miles because of the extra performance. Charging rates, if your environmental conditions allow, of up to 350 kilowatts, then the 10 to 80% charge will be done in 18 minutes.
Perfect. Even good on long journeys. Yeah.
Yes.
Great.
Yeah.
Good stuff. I think this, maybe it's just me, but when I see ranges of over 300 miles and I see 18 minutes for 10 to 80% charge rates, I go, okay. And then that's it. I've moved on. That's plenty for me.
Yeah.
That's plenty for me. It's just barely different from even running my Lexus. I'm getting shorter range than that. And, by the time you stop, grab a coffee and stuff, it's 18 minutes anyway in a stop. It's becoming irrelevant.
Yeah.
If you get those rates, then it's starting to really become quite irrelevant in there. But of course, I'm not someone who can drive 600 miles on a full bladder, so I on an empty bladder. So
you have no right to say such things. But when this stuff trickles down to the more affordably priced cars for the vast majority of people, that will be a great thing as well.
Yeah.
Do you want to take us to a car that wasn't, but now is?
Well, we've chatted with folk from Callum before, so obviously the British company based near Leamington Spa, which traditionally has done Aston Martin-based stuff, but it tends to be refinements on the works of designer Ian Callum. And this time, it's not an Aston Martin that they've been fiddling with. It's a Jaguar C-X75. So you might remember CX75 as being a Jaguar concept car. Do you remember Jaguar? Anyone? Anyone remember Jaguar?
Does Jaguar remember Jaguar?
I think Jaguar has completely forgotten about Jaguar. I think the rest of us remember. It was built as a celebration for the 75th birthday of the firm in 2010. And it was almost expected to reach production. There were a couple of versions around. If I remember, there was a gas turbine version. There was a hybrid. There was an electric version. It could have been it was modular enough that it could do just about all of these things. It never reached production, and one of them actually ended up as the Bond villain car in the James Bond film Spectre back when, I don't know, Bond was having the baddie cars in that were particularly poor. There was this, and there was a, which DB was it? There was an Aston Martin, which was never for production either. It was like the baddies drove concept cars, which was really, low key for you. But one of the stunt cars from that has been re-engineered by Callum to make it road legal. It's been through the IVA. It's got all of the appropriate glass switchgear, catalytic converters, all sorts of fun stuff like that. And it's been refined and basically made into a proper car rather than just a stunt car where you could get away with dodgy panel gaps and all sorts of other things.
Mm.
I think this is really cool.
Yes.
It will be at the Bicester Scramble in April. That's when it's going to be first shown to the public, and that's going to be pretty awesome, really.
Yeah. Excellent. I love that.
Gorgeous
looking car.
thing.
Yeah, it really is.
Oh, it is. I've seen them. There's a Coventry Motor Museum has a silver one. I think it possibly has the original show car.
Oh, right, okay.
And it's a looker.
We say not surprised considering whose pen that came from.
Well, yes, exactly. Speaking of things that came from Ian Callum's pen.
Yes, this is the news that Jaguar is going to finish production of all their saloons, estates and sports cars in June this year, 2024. That's the XE, the XF and the F-Type, as they are going to convert Castle Bromwich and transition it.
I feel that we talk about converting Castle Bromwich to something else just about every 2 years on the show.
It does feel a little bit like that. I think the last time we mentioned it, they said they were going to do it. Now this is them actually doing it.
There is
apparently.
that repetitiveness of announcements, yes.
Well, sometimes, unfortunately for Jaguar, and again, this is not us putting the boot in, just let's make that clear. We do love the company and we wish they would do well. That is just putting that caveat in.
We're allowed to do well at the minute.
Yes.
Sorry.
But because they go for such lengths of time without anything seeming to happen, that sometimes announcements are made to go, look, no, we're still here. I'm not dead yet. You will be in a minute. No, I'm not. I'm feeling better, etc., etc. Insert Monty Python clip.
Does feel a bit like that. So, yes. I was amazed to discover they're still building the E-Pace, to be honest.
Yeah, I am surprised they're still making the XE. I didn't know that was still a thing.
No, I did know that.
Mm.
I was still just about aware of that. It's a shame. Lovely car. Really nice car.
Yeah.
Just not a German car. That was that's the problem with the XE.
Mm.
Really nice thing. And everybody, F-Pace facelifted not long ago, saying good things about that, especially the plug-in hybrids. Again, nearly no announcement about that. But
yeah. Well, do you want to take us to an announcement from their owner, though?
Yes. Tata has confirmed the site at Bridgewater in Somerset will be the location for its UK battery factory. It will initially create batteries for JLR and for Tata Motors, and it's going to be a £4 billion facility, of which 1/8 is going to come from government funding. It's going to be located at the 620-acre Gravity Smart campus. I'm not quite sure what makes the campus smart, but it was formerly the site of a Royal Ordnance factory that made bombs, unsurprisingly, during World War II. The site's been linked to various car and battery manufacturers in the past and was already widely understood to be where Tata would break ground in the coming months, says Will Rimmel in Autocar.
And congratulations, Autocar, for putting battery factory and only that in your headline.
Yes, well done. Factory's going to create 4,000 jobs, etc. Sorry, that sounds really dismissive, but that's just the early announcements.
Yeah. Well, what was another announcement that's quietly come out is that Somerset Council are going to have to borrow 150 million to try and help sort the infrastructure and skills training around the site. Considering how many services Somerset, like so many councils around the country, have cut recently to make budgets remotely work at all, I find this astonishing, actually. I know it will help the local area, but I can see how this would make many people very cross, that they're going, there's a factory that will be up in a couple of years, or my child can't get help with their schooling now.
Yes, it does. This kind of thing really annoys me. If you're building a factory, you should be building the infrastructure that goes with the factory as well.
Absolutely.
And it's even, even central government. If central government, you should be paying for the infrastructure that goes with the factory if it's one of your schemes. You should not be relying on local councils whose funding you continue to cut to do that kind of stuff for you. It's part of it should be part of a wider industrial strategy. Oh, there's the problem. Sorry, the cynicism's very high this week.
Yeah, it's the greater good, but we don't care about, this good is better than that good.
Yes, but these are just the details, Andrew. These are the details. Whereas as we all know, obviously not all of us know, but most of us know that infrastructure is the thing that pins all of these together, and you can have the most wonderful facilities, but if you don't link them together properly, then it's still all a total mess.
Yes, that did make me cross as well this week. But anyway, let's move on to points of interest, none of which make us cross, and we hope you will click the links in all of the articles that we're going to recommend. And we're going to start with a lunchtime read, this time from Top Gear and Tom Wookie Ford. So you can expect it to be about car culture, can't you? And quite rightly. This time, Volvos in Japan, old Volvos in Japan. And this is a fabulous read of how older Volvos are now finding an audience and finding a niche in amongst the amazing and fabulous car culture that is Japan anyway. I really desperately want to go to visit to see things. I really do. Just look at their cars and then look at everything. Yeah, just amazing. I always love when it was on Top Gear, when Rory Reid went for that night out before he broke the Porsche. Well, he didn't break it. It broke while he was driving it. Sorry, that was unfair.
That is one of my favourite Top Gear videos ever. Really? It was
that whole
so
episode was
beautiful.
Great because it was all about Japan.
Well done. And no, that's the one where they chained the RX-7 and the RX-8 the cars together at the end. I didn't like that bit, but the rest of it was awesome. And I've forgotten what I was going to say now because you distracted me. It's just so beautifully, that film was so beautifully shot. And that's one of the things I do really, really like about Top Gear magazine and the website is just the quality of the photography and stuff. Can't see a photo. Oh yeah, Toby Thayer has got a photography credit on this, and it's looked through the pictures. The words are great, obviously, but the pictures are gorgeous as well. They're so good. And there's a video. I haven't actually watched the video, but I have a funny feeling that it's going to be rather nicely shot too.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things that's carried through into this. Really good. I just like stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's
Top
nice.
Gear, keep letting Tom Wookie Ford out.
Yeah. Sorry, can I do a tangent and an opinion?
Of course.
Over here, Car and Driver magazine has moved from being monthly to 2 monthly, the physical magazine. And I don't know if this is because the first time they've done it, the first month they've done it, but they've made it nicer paper and stuff. But what's great about it is the long form articles that they put in, and there's a note at the front. It's saying, we've got some of the road tests and stuff in here and group tests in here, but some of the sort of more mundane stuff we're going to keep on the website only and not put into the magazine. But we want there to be proper long form magazines because that's the stuff that you want to read coming into your house. We're not pushing this on you. You're inviting us into the house. And I've got to say, if you're sitting on the loo, it's so much better to flick through a paper magazine than anything else. It's just nice to read long form articles in paper format. Do remember that. We can't really link to paper format, which kind of nullify. That's one of the reasons some of those things aren't in there.
Yeah, I asked the question recently whether there was a place left for the factual reporting and the sort of long form, more thoughtful type stuff, because you see so much is clearly driven by desperate need, or the presumption is the click will mean something. And I know it's not something we've ever tried to chase because we're not.
You could tell, yes.
We don't have, we don't have the resources, but we're not those sort of people. And then you look at the likes of the Intercooler, Road Rat, where they've got proper experts. And I'm not dismissing other car magazines here, but I'm talking other content that is made around motoring. The ones that are specifically long form content,
not caring about, not caring about the SMMT car registration figures.
Yeah, but it's also people who just regurgitate the likes of Transport and Environment and go, oh, they've said this latest thing because they know it's going to get a click or whatever, even though it's full of garbage and nonsense. And it's very easy to spot if you spend 30 seconds looking at their report, how wrong it is. And you see the general reaction is very positive. But then you hear things like people are saying how they love to read Road Rat. Who was it? Somebody was on Fueling Around recently. It was the architect who does... It was on Channel 4, the guy from Newcastle. He said that's one of his favourite magazines as well.
Uh-huh.
There is a market out there, and I just wish there was a way we could, as a country, that we would support these more and more so we can get more of such things. Otherwise, they're just going to go away because people can't afford to do them.
Mm-hmm. The other challenge is they are expensive as well.
But we have to get out of the idea that content is free or should be free.
Yeah, I mean, I cancelled my Road Rat subscription because the overseas fees it became very expensive indeed, and whilst it was a nice luxury in the UK, it was just a little bit too much for me over here, which is a shame because it's such a nice publication every time it comes out.
Yeah. I think the call to action there is go out and buy good magazines.
Yeah. The other thing is, of course, the other week there was all the thing around Road and Track, which is sister magazine of Car and Driver. I've never really been a fan of Road and Track. Don't know why. I just never really liked it. And that wonderful Formula One opinion piece that was very briefly published, and it is now available elsewhere, not just on the Internet Time Machine. And it was brilliant. Actually, I felt it was more suitable. It was many, many words to read on a screen, though, and I found myself tiring towards the end.
Yeah.
Beautiful turns of phrase, just so nicely observed.
Yeah.
That would have been a wonderful print article as well. Despite the fact that the new editor-in-chief decided it wasn't fitting. It would have been bloody brilliant.
Yeah.
So the style of some of the old stuff that the American magazines used to publish, absolutely great, intelligent stuff. Sorry. Anyway, Tom Wookie Ford was in Japan, speaking of Volvos.
Click the link in the show note and have a good read.
And it was beautifully intelligent and lovely, and it inspired all the rest of that. Yeah. Sorry. And that's the power of long-form journalism.
Yes.
Speaking of which, list of the week. Which ironically, there is not a wonderful serving of listicles right at the moment.
No.
Good people, go write more listicles for us, please.
Yes.
But this one from Top Gear is pretty good, pretty topical, and it is some of the greatest 16-cylinder cars ever made. Andrew.
Yes. I have made my choice.
Have you?
I have. The Maserati Tipo V4.
Okay. That's not the one I would have thought. It's lovely, though, isn't it?
It's hand-cranked for a 16-cylinder supercharged 4-litre. Oh.
Yeah.
Wow. 3-speed manual, all going through the rear wheels.
Have so much torque, you barely need to, first gear is probably for moving off in the Alps or something.
Yeah, but it looks gorgeous.
It is. It's lovely. Absolute classic.
I mean,
beautiful.
I made that sound as though it was a very easy decision, but there are some other absolutely stunning and cars I never knew existed in this list.
Yes.
I'm thinking the one above the Tipo, for starters.
Oh, I knew that existed. I didn't like that one.
I knew you would. You know everything, you see.
C-pillar. It's good that you chose that. That was a different one from the one that I'd chosen. And if anybody wants to guess which one I've chosen, then do let me know.
The first one on the list.
All right, you win.
Well, I got to hope after 8.5 years that I would get close to what you were thinking.
Yes, you have absolutely nailed it. That is the one I would choose. If you want to know what the first one in the list is, follow the link in the show notes. I'll get to talk.
That's what you have to do.
And finally, Andrew.
Yes, and finally, I saw this thanks to LinkedIn, actually. So it does have some uses.
Really? I thought it was just for stalking people. Yeah.
Not just to make me cross. Yes, and for getting random enticements to go and work for some company who you've never heard of, on whether you wanted a job or not. But this is in a link to a Magneto magazine article, because Ralph Hosier has created a training course, or several training courses, to help you with the basics of motor skills. And I love this sort of thing, because he works with the Association of Heritage Engineers, and who we've had on the show before. And he's helping people understand the basics of how to maintain and look after your cars. And this is a skill Well, I definitely need, because whenever I wield a spanner anywhere near a car, I feel I make it worse. I can fill up the fuel, the fuel and the washer fluid. And after that, then I'm way out of my depth and I get paranoid. I should go on one of these at least. But it goes into things like how to do welding and all sorts of stuff. Do click on the link in the show notes. At the very bottom of the article is a link to go through to Ralph Hosier's website and learn more information on how you could sign up as well. But I think this is a cracking offering from Ralph, because Ralph is brilliant as a teacher, and he's just amazing fun to be near anyway.
He's one of those great explainers. And it goes, he does, they do have this isn't an advertisement, we're not sponsored or anything like that, but they do have a number of courses of varying levels, and this is really the introductory one. I see that there's welding and stuff. I actually own a welder. It hasn't been used for probably a decade, if not longer, because I am terrified of it.
Well, when you come back to Blighty, you should make that one of your tasks.
I should, yes. But it scares me. The rest of the stuff that's listed here, not a problem. Not a problem. I'm fine with that. Partly because what you need to get started is to just have a mate. It doesn't have to necessarily know any more than you, but just someone to bounce the idea and the plan off, to act as some form of confirmation to go, yeah, that sounds right, or are you sure you wouldn't be better doing this or that instead?
You are talking about fixing a car and not a podcast, right?
Yeah, both work. Generally works, yeah. But yes, welding is the one that scares me.
Not if you went to Ralph, though.
Not if I went to Ralph. Ralph would just make it seem so flippin' easy. And explain it so nicely, and then I'd feel really silly because I didn't know or understand this before Ralph had explained it to me.
Yeah, but Ralph wouldn't make you feel that. That's just your reaction.
That would just be, that's purely my reaction and absolutely nothing to do with Ralph. That's about it this week. I had thought of a parish note, but then not written it down. Never mind. Oh, that's what I was going to say. It's been brought to my attention that there is a motoring podcast network.
Yes.
It is in no way affiliated to the Motoring Podcast.
No.
It is also significantly newer, and they have a rubbish URL. But of course, best of luck to them. Jolly good. Shame you couldn't think of your own name, folks, huh? Which brings us to the end, really. Folks, don't forget that between now and next week, you can give us any feedback. Share your thoughts with the show at Motoring Podcast on Twitter and Instagram, on Facebook, and on the contact page of motoringpodcast.com, the hub of all our activities. Remember, you can support us financially via Patreon, and please leave a rating and review on Apple Podcasts or however your podcast app lets you do such a thing. Andrew, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
The best way to get in touch with me is if you search for Crap Windscreen on Twitter or Mastodon. You should find me there. Also, I am more active on LinkedIn. I know I just mentioned it before, but I am more active on LinkedIn, and I know a couple of listeners have actually connected with me this week, so thank you very much. That's delightful. And Alan, if people would like to discuss or vent their anger at your cheap fuel prices, how can they do that personally?
Well, they can just shout into the ether and not bother me with it. Or you can use Twitter or Blue Sky, I tend to use rather than Mastodon, where I'm at AJP Bradley. That's BRADLEY. Just quickly, thank you everyone who's clicking on and watching the YouTube short bit on YouTube, and they get posted to Facebook as well. And they do seem to be getting many views there, so that's very nice.
Oh,
thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Do please like, subscribe, etc. Anyway, that's me done my YouTubist bit for the day. We'll be back very soon, but until then, I've been Alan Bradley.
I've been Andrew Clues.
And safe motoring.